with Toasty at the front, and then what sun is coming out.
Namaste, Dandavat Pranam. By the instruction and grace of our spiritual master, Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa, Sripad Bhakti Madhava Puri Mahārāja, we are here reading Srimad Bhagavatam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Canto 4, The Creation of the Fourth Order, Chapter 21, Text 24. Yaudharat Karam Raja Prajadharmeshva Sikshayan Prajanam Samalam Bhunkte Bhagam Chasvam Jahatisa. Any king who does not teach his citizens about their respective duties in terms of varna and ashram, but who simply exacts tolls and taxes from them, is liable to suffer for the impious activities which have been performed by the citizens. In addition to such degradation, the king also loses his own fortune. Purport. A king, governor, or president should not take the opportunity to occupy his post without also discharging his duty. He must teach the people within the state how to observe the divisions of varna and ashram. If a king neglects to give such instruction and is simply satisfied with levying taxes, then those who share in the collection, namely all the government servants and the head of the state, are liable to share in the impious activities of the general masses. The laws of nature are very subtle. For example, if one eats in a place which is very sinful, he shares in the resultant reaction of the sinful activities performed there. It is a Vedic system, therefore, that a householder call Brahmanas and Vaishnavas to eat at a ceremonial performance in his house, because the Brahmanas and Vaishnavas can immunize him from sinful activities. But it is not the duty of rigid Brahmanas and Vaishnavas to accept invitations everywhere. There is, of course, no objection to taking part in feasts in which prasad is distributed. There are many subtle laws which are practically unknown to people in general, but the Krishna consciousness movement is very scientifically distributing all this Vedic knowledge for the benefit of the people of the world. Text 25. Tat praja bhartripindartam Svartam evana suyava Kurutad hoksa jadiyas tarhi menu graha krita. Pṛthu Maharaj continued, therefore, my dear citizens, for the welfare of your king after his death, you should execute your duties properly in terms of your positions of Varna and Ashram, and should always think of the Supreme Personality of Godhead within your hearts. By doing so, you will protect your own interests, and you will bestow mercy upon your king for his welfare after death. Purport. The words Adhoksa Jadiya, meaning Krishna consciousness, are very important in this verse. The king and citizens should both be Krishna conscious. Otherwise, both of them will be doomed to lower species of life after death. A responsible government must teach Krishna consciousness very vigorously for the benefit of all. Without Krishna consciousness, neither the state nor the citizens of the state can be responsible. Pṛthu Maharaj therefore specifically requested the citizens to act in Krishna consciousness, and he was also very anxious to teach them how to become Krishna conscious. A summary of Krishna consciousness is given in Bhagavad Gita 9.27. Yat karosi yad asnasi, yad juhosi dadhasi yat, yat tapasyasi kaunteya, tat kurusva arpanam. Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you give in charity, and whatever penances you undergo should be done in Krishna consciousness, for the satisfaction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If all the people of the state, including the government servants, are taught the techniques of spiritual life, then although everyone is liable to be punished in different ways by the stringent laws of material nature, they will not be implicated. Text 26. Yuyam tad anumodadvam pitri devarshayo mala kartu shastur anugyatus tuyam yat pretya tatphalam. I request all the pure-hearted demigods, forefathers, and saintly persons to support my proposal. For after death, all the results of action equally shared by its doer. For after death, the result of an action is equally shared by its doer, its director, and its supporter. Purport. The government of Pṛthu Maharaj was perfect because it was administered exactly according to the orders of the Vedic injunctions. Pṛthu Maharaj has already explained that the chief duty of the government is to see that everyone executes his respective duty and is elevated to the platform of Krishna consciousness. The government should be so conducted that automatically one is elevated to Krishna consciousness. King Pṛthu therefore wanted his citizens to cooperate fully with him, for if they assented, then they would enjoy the same profit as he after death. If Pṛthu Maharaj, as a perfect king, were elevated to the heavenly planets, the citizens who cooperated by approving of his methods would also be elevated with him. Since the Krishna consciousness movement going on at present moment is genuine, perfect, and authorized, and is following the footsteps of Pṛthu Maharaj, anyone who cooperates with this movement or accepts its principles will get the same result as the workers who are actively propagating Krishna consciousness. Text 27. Asti yagya patir nama kesanchid arhasatama iha mutra chalakshante jyotsnavatya kvachid bhuva. My dear respectable ladies and gentlemen, according to the authoritative statements of the Shastra, there must be a supreme authority who is able to award the respective benefits of our present activities. Otherwise, why should there be persons who are unusually beautiful and powerful, both in this life and in life after death. Purport. Pṛthu Maharaja's sole aim in ruling his kingdom was to raise the citizens of to the standard of God consciousness. Since there was a great assembly in the arena of the sacrifice, there were different types of men present. But he was especially interested in speaking to those who were not atheists. It has already been explained in the previous verses that Pṛthu Maharaj advised the citizens to become adhoksajadya, which means God conscious or Krishna conscious. And in this verse, he specifically presents the authority of Shastra, even though his father was a number one atheist who did not abide by the injunctions mentioned in the Vedic Shastras, who practically stopped all sacrificial performances, and who so disgusted the Brahmanas that they not only dethroned him, but cursed and killed him. Atheistic men do not believe in the existence of God, and thus they understand everything which is happening in our daily affairs to be due to physical arrangement and chance. Atheists believe in the atheistic Sankhya philosophy of the combination of Prakriti and Purusha. They believe only in matter and hold that matter, under certain conditions of amalgamation, gives rise to the living force, which then appears as Purusha, the enjoyer. Then, by a combination of matter and the living force, the many varieties of material manifestation come into existence. Nor do atheists believe in the injunctions of the Vedas. According to them, all the Vedic injunctions are simply theories that have no practical application in life. Taking all this into consideration, Pṛthu Maharaj suggested that theistic men will solidly reject the views of the atheists on the grounds that there cannot be many varieties of existence without the plan of a superior intelligence. Atheists very vaguely explain that these varieties of existence occur simply by chance, but the theists who believe in the injunctions of the Vedas must reach all their conclusions under the direction of the Vedas. In the Vishnu Purana, it is said that the entire Varnashram institution is meant to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The rules and regulations set up for the execution of duties of Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Sudras, or Brahmacharis, Grihastas, Vanaprasts, and Sannyasas, are all meant to satisfy the Supreme Lord. At the present moment, although the so-called Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Sudras have lost their original culture, they claim to be Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Sudras by birthright. Yet they have rejected the proposition that such social and spiritual orders are especially meant for worship of Lord Vishnu. The dangerous Mayavad theory set forth by Shankaracharya that God is impersonal does not tally with the injunctions of the Vedas. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore described the Mayavadi philosophers as the greatest defenders against the personality of Godhead. According to the Vedic system, one who does not abide by the orders of the Vedas is called Nastika, or atheist. When Lord Buddha preached his theory of non-violence, he was obliged to deny the authority of the Vedas, and for this reason he was considered by the followers of the Vedas to be a Nastika. But although Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu very clearly enunciated that the followers of Lord Buddha's philosophy are Nastikas, or atheists, because of their denial of the authority of the Vedas, he considered the Shankarites, who wanted to establish Vedic authority by trickery and who actually followed the Mayavad philosophy of Buddha's school, to be more dangerous than the Buddhists themselves. The Shankarite philosopher's theory that we have to imagine a shape of God is more dangerous than the denial of the existence of God. Notwithstanding all philosophical theorizing by atheists or Mayavadis, the followers of Krishna consciousness rigidly live according to the injunctions given in Bhagavad Gita, which is accepted as the essence of all Vedic scripture. In Bhagavad Gita 18.46 it is said, Yatha pravrittir bhutanam yena sarvam idam tatam swakarmana tam abhyarcha siddhim vindhati manava. By worship of the Lord, who is the source of all beings and who is all-pervading, man can, in the performance of his own duty, attain perfection. This indicates that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the original source of everything, as described in the Vedanta Sutra, Janmadasyata. The Lord himself also confirms in Bhagavad Gita, Aham Sarvasya Prabhavo. I am the origin of everything. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the original source of all emanations, and at the same time, as Paramatma, he is spread all over existence. The absolute truth is therefore the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and every living being is meant to satisfy the Supreme Godhead by performing his respective duty. Svakarmana tam abhyarcha. Maharaj Pṛthu wanted to introduce this formula amongst his citizens. The most important point in human civilization is that while one engages in different occupational duties, he must try to satisfy the Supreme Lord by the execution of such duties. That is the highest perfection of life. Svanustitasya dharmasya samsiddhir haritoshanam. By discharging one's prescribed duty, one can become very successful in life. If he simply satisfies the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the vivid example is Arjuna. He was a Kshatriya, his duty was to fight, and by executing his prescribed duty, he satisfied the Lord. He satisfied the Supreme Lord, and therefore became perfect. Everyone should follow this principle. The atheists who do not are condemned in Bhagavad Gita 16.19 by the following statement: Tamaham dvisata kuransam sarashu naradahaman. In this verse, it is clearly said that persons who are envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are the lowest of mankind and are very mischievous. Under the regulative principles of the Supreme, such mischievous persons are thrown into the darkest region of material existence and are born of asuras or atheists. Birth after birth, such asuras go down still further, finally to animal forms like those of tigers or similar ferocious beasts. Thus, for millions of years, they have to remain in darkness without knowledge of Krishna. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is known as Purushottam, or the best of all living entities. He is a person like all other living entities, but he is the leader or the best of all living entities. That is stated in the Vedas also. Nityo Nityanam Chaitanas Chaitanam. He is the chief of all eternals and the chief of all living entities. And he is complete and full. He has no need to derive benefit by interfering with the affairs of other living entities. But because he is the maintainer of all, he has the right to bring them to proper standard so that the living entities may become happy. A father wants all of his children to become happy under his direction. Similarly, God or Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, has the right to see that all living entities are happy. There is no possibility of becoming happy within this material world. The Father and the Sons are eternal, but if a living entity does not come to the platform of his eternal life and bliss and knowledge, there is no question of happiness. Although Purushottam, the best of all living entities, has no benefit to derive from the common living entities, he does have the right to discriminate between their right and wrong ways. The right way is the path of activities meant to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as we have already discussed. Svanustitasya dharmasya samsiddhir haritoshanam. A living entity may engage in any occupational duty, but if he wants to have perfection in his duties, he must satisfy the Supreme Lord. As such, one who pleases him gets better facilities for living, but one who displeases him gets involved in undesirable situations. It is therefore concluded that there are two kinds of duties: mundane duty and duty performed for the sake of yajna or sacrifice. Yagyartat karma. Any karma activity one performs which is not for the purpose of yajna is a cause of bondage. Yajyartat karma non yatra lokayam karma bandhana. Work done as a sacrifice for Vishnu has to be performed. Otherwise, works binds one to this material world. Bhagavad Gita 3.9. Karma bandhana, or the bondage of karma, is administered under the regulations of the stringent laws of material nature. Material existence is a struggle to conquer the impediments put forth by material nature. The asuras are always fighting to overcome these impediments, and by the illusory power of material nature, the foolish living entities work very hard within this material world and take this to be happiness. This is called Maya. In that hard struggle for existence, they deny the existence of the Supreme Authority, Purushottam, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In order to regulate the activities of the living entities, God has given us codes, just as a king gives codes of law in a state, and whoever breaks the law is punished. Similarly, the Lord has given the infallible knowledge of the Vedas, which are not contaminated by the 4 defects of human life, namely the tendency to commit mistakes, to be illusioned, to cheat, and to have imperfect senses. If we do not take the direction of the Vedas, but act whimsically, according to our own choice, we are sure to be punished by the laws of the Lord, who offers different types of bodies in the 8,400,000 species of forms. Material existence, or the sense gratification process, is conducted according to the type of body we are given by Prakriti, or material nature. As such, there must be divisions of pious and impious activities, punya and papa. In Bhagavad Gita 7.28, it is clearly stated, Yesham tvantagatam papam jnanam punya karmanam te dvanva moha nirmukta bhajante mam dridhavrata. One who has completely surpassed the resultant activities of the impious path of life. This is possible only when one engages exclusively in pious activities, can understand his eternal relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus, one engages in the Lord's transcendental loving service. This life of engaging always in the loving service of the Lord is called adhoksajadhya, or a life of Krishna consciousness, which King Pṛthu meant his citizens to follow. The different varieties of life and of material existence did not come about by chance and necessity. They are different arrangements made by the Supreme Lord in terms of the pious and impious activities of the living entities. By performing pious activities, one can take birth in a good family, in a good nation, one can get a beautiful body, or one can become very well educated or very rich. We see, therefore, that in different places and in different planets there are different standards of life, bodily features, and educational statuses, all awarded by the Supreme Personality of Godhead according to the pious or impious activities. Varieties of life, therefore, develop not by chance, but by pre-arrangement. There is a plan, which is already outlined in the Vedic knowledge. One has to take advantage of that knowledge and mold his life in such a way that at the end, especially in the human form of life, he may go back home, back to Godhead, by practicing Krishna consciousness. The theory of chance can best be explained in the Vedic literature by the words agyata sukriti, which refer to pious activities performed without the actor's knowledge. But these are also planned. For example, Krishna comes like an ordinary man, an ordinary human being. He comes as a devotee, like Lord Chaitanya, or he sends his representative, the spiritual master, or pure devotee. This is also the planned activity of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They come to canvass and educate, and thus a person in the illusory energy of the Supreme Lord get a chance to mix with them, talk with them, and take lessons from them. And somehow or other, if a contaminated soul surrenders to such personalities and by intimate association with them chances to become Krishna conscious, he is saved from the material conditions of life. Krishna therefore instructs Sarva dharmam parityaga mamekam sharanam braja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshasyami masuja. Abandon all varieties of religion, and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reaction. Do not fear. Bhagavad Gita 18.66. The word sarva papebhya means from all sinful activities. A person who surrenders unto him by utilizing the chance to associate with the pure devotees, spiritual master, or the other authorized incarnations of Godhead, like Pṛthu Maharaj, is saved by Krishna. Then his life becomes successful. Okay, that ends our reading for today. We'll continue from texts 28 and 29 on Wednesday. Jai Vishnupad Paramahamsa Sripad Bhakti Madhava Puri Maharaj ki jai. Jai Srila Prabhupada, Srila Guru Maharaj, Srila Gurudev, Srila Acharya Dev, Srila Shanta Maharaj ki jai. Jai Rupa Nuga Guru Varga ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the worldwide devotees, Sama Bhaktivedanta ki jai. Jai Navadvip Dham ki jai, Nrsimhapali Dham ki jai, Mayapur Dham ki jai, Jagannath Puri Dham ki jai, Jagannath Pali Subhadra Ju ki jai. Ganga Mai, Yamuna Mai ki jai, Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Giri Govardhan Gupta Govardhan Dham ki jai, Sham Kund Radha Kund ki jai, Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Vrinda Devi ki jai. Jai Harinam Sankirtan Yagya ki jai, Scientific Sankirtan Yagya ki jai, Princeton Bhaktivedanta Institute ki jai, Sri Chaitanya Saraswati Institute ki jai, Sri Chaitanya Saraswati Mat ki jai, Jai Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Nitai Gaura Premanandi, Hari 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 Bo, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam.